Hey guys, it is April from Getting Huggy With It. Today I have a thriller and mystery haul. Some of these are domestic thrillers, some of these are literary thrillers and mysteries, so I am so excited about what I picked up. Let us begin. The first book that I got is Disclaimer by Rennie Knight. Now I've already read this and it was part of my Sweet Summer Reads series. I loved this thriller so much. It's about a woman who sees this book on her nightstand and she picks it up and she starts reading, and then all of a sudden she gets to a point where she's like, this is my story, and who put this book on my nightstand and how did it get there, and do my husband and son know? Because there is a secret in her past that she doesn't want them to know. She doesn't want to go back to it, and it's there in her face and she has no choice. It is a great thriller and I wanted this on my shelf because I'm not sure if I'm gonna read this again anytime soon, but it's definitely reflective of my favorite thrillers of all time. This is up there. I really liked it, so I picked that one up. I also grabbed The Perfect Girl by GILLY, MACMILLAN. This sounds really fun. It's about this girl named Zoe. She is a musical prodigy, and one night her actions lead to the death of 3 classmates of hers, and she goes to jail for it. And when she gets out of jail, her mother Maria is like ready to move on. She's just trying to get her daughter to just move forward with her life. So there is a recital, and at that recital, Maria, the mother, ends up dead. And so the world falls apart essentially around Zoe. Is she guilty of this? There's all sorts of mystery around that, so I'm eager to find out what happened to her. I also got The Shadow of the Wind. Now, I know I'm probably the last person on earth who hasn't read this book yet, but I really want to. This is a favorite of Julie's from A Girl in a Book, so I knew that I had to get it. This follows a boy named Daniel, and he lives in Barcelona, and in 1945, his father says that he can pick out a book that he wants to, and he picks up The Shadow of the Wind. But later when he starts to try to find the author's other works, he finds out that they're being destroyed. So what is going on here is essentially what Daniel needs to find out, and I am totally up for that. I feel like this would be an amazing one for fall. So I think I might pick this one up this fall. It looks great. I also grabbed The Quick by Lauren Owen. This is a mystery, and it's set in London, 1892, and it follows this man named James. He is a would-be poet. He meets an aristocrat, and this aristocrat introduces him to this high society life and social circle, and then suddenly he disappears. And his sister is writing him, and he's not writing back, and she needs to find out what happened. And so his sister Charlotte goes to London to track down her brother, and instead she seems to find out about this like secretive society, this underground society within London. Very mysterious. I also grabbed Elizabeth is Missing. I have been meaning to read this for such a long time. This follows an elderly woman named Maud, and she is losing her memory, sadly. And she keeps talking about this woman named Elizabeth, who was her best friend or dear friend, and she keeps saying Elizabeth is missing, and no one around her will pay any attention to her. And she feels like she just needs to solve what happened to Elizabeth herself. So she starts leaving herself little messages and notes to try and track it down so that she'll be able to remember. I really do love a good thriller that can work with memory or lack of memory in a really well done way. I feel like a lot of them miss out, like The Girl on the Train. I think that's very popular. I liked it, but I wasn't blown away by the memory lapses, and so I'm really, really hoping that it's done well here in Elizabeth's Missing. I also grabbed Leaving Berlin by Joseph Cannon. Now this is kind of a mystery slash spy novel, and it's set in Berlin, 1949, and it follows Alex Mayer. He's a young Jewish writer. Now he fled the Nazis and moved to America before the war, but he starts to be kind of interrogated by the McCarthy witch hunt because of his political views as a youth, and so he's just trying to survive. He makes this bargain with the CIA that he will earn his way back to America by acting as their agent in his native Berlin, and it soon goes really, really wrong. It sounds really fun, doesn't it? I'm excited about this one. I also grabbed Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marissa Pessel. Now, she wrote Night Film, which I adored, and so I have this funny feeling that I'm going to like this one too. It is about Blue Van Meer, who goes to this small, like, elite school, and there she meets a great group of friends, and she has this wonderful teacher named Hannah, and then suddenly things start going wrong. So there's a sudden drowning, a series of inexplicable events, and then finally her beloved teacher dies. And so she is just trying to figure out what in the world is happening here, and it sounds mysterious and fun, and it kind of reminds me for some reason of The Secret History, which I haven't read, so I could be totally off, but I feel like those two would be a nice pairing. So this also seems like something that I'd want to read in the fall, so I might wait for then. Oh gosh, guys, I'm so excited about this one. I have never heard of The Book of You before, but it sounds amazing. It's about this woman who's being stalked by this man named Rafe, and literally everywhere she turns, he's there. He's there at the train station, he's there after her university class, he's there. And the only way that she can kind of escape him is by going to court. She's on jury duty, and so she kind of starts enjoying going to court. And she meets someone there, but it seems like Rafe or Rafi or whatever his name is, it seems like Rafe is just relentless in his stalking, and so the only way that she can kind of figure out to stop him is by tracking down why he's doing that. And so she starts to try to build this case against him, and while she's doing that, she unravels so much information that is horrifying to her that she doesn't know if she can handle it. It sounds like so much fun. It sounds a little bit like You, from the perspective of the victim, and I'm already scared. I also grabbed Pretty Baby. This is, I think, a new one by Mary Kubica, and it follows this woman named Heidi Wood, who's always been a very charitable person. She sees that this young woman named Willow is in trouble. She has like a 4-month-old baby. She's not doing well in life. And so Heidi decides, you know what, I'm going to take you in, I'm going to put you in my house and take care of you until you get back on your feet. And so she invites this young woman into her house, and then she soon regrets it. It sounds like it gets a little twisted based on Willow's past. So that sounds really fun and a really nice, like, kind of fluffy summer read. I grabbed Mystic River by Dennis Lehane. Now, I just finished reading Since We Fell by Dennis Lehane, and I loved it. So I have this funny feeling that I'm just gonna love Dennis Lehane's thrillers just generally, and this follows the story of 3 children, Sean, Jimmy, and Dave, and they are childhood buddies, and then one day a strange car pulls up and one boy gets in, and when that happens, and what happens from that changes their lives forever. It breaks up their friendship. And then it follows them like 25 years later. And so Sean is a homicide detective, and Jimmy is an ex-con, and then Dave is like barely hanging on to his marriage. One day, Jimmy's daughter is found murdered, and Sean is assigned to the case. And so they're basically brought back together by this very sad circumstance. And I guess we're trying to find out two stories. What happened to that little boy who got into the car, and what happened to Jimmy's daughter? It sounds wonderful. And you know, it's funny, my uncle Dennis got me Mystic River when I was a teenager, and of course as a teen I was like, no, I just want to do my own thing. I am gonna read it now. This is not the same copy, obviously, as I had as a teen, but I'm gonna get to it now, Uncle Den. I grabbed Island of Lost Girls. Now firstly, can we just look at this cover and how kind of scary this kid is? I personally find her really scary. Now this is by Jennifer McMahon. Oh, I never know how to pronounce people's names. But she wrote The Winter People, which I loved. So this follows the story of Rhonda. And one day she sees something very strange and very horrifying. She sees someone who's dressed in a rabbit costume kidnap a little girl. After that happens, she starts to go down the rabbit hole of trying to find out what happened to this little girl. It also gets her like mixed up in finding out what actually happened to her own best friend Lizzie, who went missing as a child. I am so excited to pick this one up. It just sounds awesome. I also got The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. This is on my summer TBR. I'm going to be picking this up very, very soon. But this follows a woman who's like rummaging around in some papers, and she happens upon this letter. And it's from her husband to her, and it says, if you're reading this, I'm dead. And he's not dead, like he's perfectly well and alive, so he's kept this letter hidden. And as she starts to read what this letter says, her entire life just unravels. So I want to know what the letter says. Stat. It's been a little while since I've read a Margaret Atwood, so I think it's about time that I picked this up. This is about two sisters. One of the sisters drives her car off of a bridge 10 days after World War I ends. And the other sister is dealing with the consequences, including the publication of a book called The Blind Assassin, which covers this death and has made that sister really infamous. It sounds like there's going to be a little mystery involved, and then obviously some family drama, I'm assuming. I know that this will be written beautifully because it's Margaret Atwood, so I'm very happy that I have this. I also grabbed The Ice Twins. I'm super excited for this. It sounds so scary. This is about twin girls, and one day one of the twins, Lydia, dies in an accident, and the parents, Angus and Sarah, decide to move away, to move to a little Scottish island. And one day their surviving twin, Kirsty, says that they have mistaken her identity and that she's actually Lydia. So that in and of itself is really freaky. But then winter comes, and Angus has to go away for work, and it's left Sarah and little Kirsty or Lydia or whoever she is just by themselves, isolated. And then Kirsty gets more and more disturbed. So I am really, really excited for this because the concept of like scary kids really thrills me. I don't know why, but it does. It sounds like it might veer on the edge of horror, but it's meant to be thriller, so I'm excited for this. Now, those were all of the books that I picked up for this thriller mystery haul. Let me know what thrillers you've read recently that you've really enjoyed, that scared you a little bit. I would love to know, and I will see you next time. Bye!